Hello Champagne Dreamers, welcome back to my channel. I'm your girl Miss J, your trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And for today's video, we are taking another trip back to the Thunderdome, and it's a little bit of a repeat. We're gonna mix it up. So a while back, I did a video where I ranked all of my melt palettes twice. So I'll go ahead and link that video up here in the cards, but I had 6 melt palettes at the time, and I ranked them twice because I was really torn on how to rank them, because there were some that looked beautiful, the packaging was stunning, the color story was amazing, but the performance was not. And so I did 2 rankings. I did one just on presentation and packaging and color story, and then I went back and ranked them again based on performance. So definitely check out that video if you want to see how I rank them. But you know what? I've acquired more melt palettes. I've gotten 4 more palettes since then. And I thought, you know what? Let's go ahead and just do one combined list. Because after all, you can't buy just the packaging, right? Like, I mean, maybe if you're a collector, you're buying it just to set on a shelf or a vanity, but you're buying it for the beautiful packaging and for how it performs. So I was like, you know what? We're gonna put on our big girl panties and deal with it. We're going to re-rank these, we're gonna put them in order, and I've had a chance to play with them a little bit more, so we're gonna get all my new thoughts and bring in some new palettes to the mix as well. If you're excited for that, then stick around. We're getting into it right now. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and count down all of my melt palettes. I have the same 6 palettes that I had in the first video, and I've added 4 more melt palettes to my collection. So we are going to rank all 10 of them, and I went back, I rewatched my video, I played around and I swatched, and I did a little bit of makeup play, just to see how I felt about them, see how they were doing now that I could compare them to the newer palettes in my collection. And so we're going to go ahead and start at the bottom at number 10. And this is one that was recently featured in my review roundup for April. I'll go ahead and link that up in the cards as well. And that's a brand new palette. I bet you can guess what it is. Let's get into it with number 10. So number 10, I just wanted it to be better. It's the Mary Jane palette. I really wanted to love this. I love a smoky eye. I love smoky eyes that aren't just a black shadow. So doing it with like a taupe or a brown, or even like a color, like a blue or a purple, like a plum or a wine. I love it. I'm here for it. And this was supposed to be inspired by marijuana smoke and crystallized buds. I was going to use this for my look that I did in my Reefer Madness video. I'll link that up in the cards as well, so you can check that out, where I talked all about my weed-themed makeup and about the legalization of marijuana. But this did not arrive on time, so I had to use something different. But this one, I was so excited, and it just didn't live up to the hype. The packaging is beautiful, but once we open it up, it's just a little bit of a problem. I want it to be better. It's not terrible. I wouldn't bother ranking palettes that I hate. So I should say that about any of my ranking videos, any of my Makeup Thunderdome. I have to like a brand enough to buy enough palettes for me to feel like it's worth it to do a Makeup Thunderdome. Clearly I like Melt, I like their palettes, and so this isn't saying that this is terrible. I'm just saying that of all the palettes that I had, this is the least impressive to me. These are very, very brown. These 2 champagne colors, they just don't look different enough. The shimmers are chunky, they're hard to work with, and I just wanted it to be better, and it just wasn't. So this, unfortunately, is stuck in my number 10 spot. Sorry, Mary Jane.
Reefer Madness, Reefer Madness!
Stop.
Why is she so crazy? I don't know.
In the number 9 spot, another one that looks so beautiful, and it just should be better than it is, and it hurts my heart to put it here, but in the number 9 spot, the Vida Palette. The Vida and the Muerte palettes have the most beautiful packaging. I mean, it's some of the best packaging in my entire makeup collection, and I am a creepy makeup hoarder, so that's saying a lot. Like, there's a lot of competition. This is so beautiful. And I love these colors. I mean, look at this. These greens down here, and then pairing it with this like tangerine and these reds. This is such a beautiful color story, and these browns really work with all of them. and it's just not good. Like, the performance, it's so difficult to work with. These are really dry, stiff, almost gritty mattes. They're so hard to work with the way that I do makeup. The shimmers are just stiff. They don't want to move. They don't blend that well. They're just a tough thing. I really wanted this to be better because look at this. Look at this. Look at it. It's so good, but so bad. I don't know how that happens. I really just want it to be better because this color story is my dream. Now we're going to get to the Muerte palette, and that one just sends me on a whole journey. But this one, like these greens, we know I love greens, and these are so pretty, but it just wasn't that great, and so it ended up in the number 9 spot. In the number 8 spot, put on the Rita Ora because we have the Radioactive Palette. This is another one. The first 4 on this list are like, these are the ones that I consider my bottom products. I have 2 that are like middle products and then like a top 4. This one I really want to love because again, Melt with their packaging, stunning all the time. I pretty much always love their palette packaging. That I don't have a complaint about. And I had the original stack of these 4 shades, the like brighter, the pink, the orange, the yellow, and the green. They were phenomenal. And these are still pretty good. I don't know if they changed the formula much. The problem with this palette are the new shades. So they added these new shades, and these are the ones that are kind of duds. They're just not as easy to work with as the other ones. And these for neons, you would think that these would be the problem children. No, like teal and purple. What? What? How does that happen? These purples are so difficult to work with. This teal, oh my god. It's a pretty color. And I hope that if you use it on your eyes, you like it. Because it's gonna be there for a while. This color stains like crazy. It will stain your eye. I put on foundation over my lids. I use a primer. I sometimes use a glitter glue or whatever. This like stains through all of that, through my full like Dutch boy application of makeup. It stains me, so I imagine that people who don't wear as much stuff on their eyelids as I do, girl, it's gonna be there for a long time. So I really want to use this. It's about half and half. It's half. These are still really good, and these aren't like, again, they're not terrible shadows. It's not like I regret purchasing it. I just, for the price that Melt charges, I want these to be better. I just want them to be better. And in the number 7 spot, the last of my kind of bottom 4 of the palettes, that is the Muerte palette. This one got pushed above the others because the color story is so beautiful. And again, this packaging so stunning with this like beautiful sugar skull design and these roses, and some of them are matte and some of them are glossy. So pretty, and these like magnetized together. I couldn't even line them up. This color story is really what saves this because I love the idea of this. I don't know why we don't see more palettes popping up like this, because this has been out for a little while, so other brands could have like taken notice and started to like dupe it out or whatever. This color story is beautiful and unexpected and weird and unique. These like seafoamy greens, this teal, and then into these dark blues, and then bringing us this like wine and this bright pop of red, and then a champagne. I think this color story is so innovative. If this was the same formula as the She's in Parties palette that we're going to talk about in a little bit, this would be my number 1 palette. And there's green palettes. We know how I feel about green palettes, but this one right here, if it had been the quality of the She's in Parties palette, this would be my number 1 because this color story is unlike anything I have in my collection. Like, yes, I have a teal, I have a blue, I have a red. So it's not like these are unique to my collection, but to put them together in this particular curated collection, genius. So good. So the Muerte palette is in the number 7. It's at the top of the bottom. Versatile. But it's still in the bottom for me. It's so beautiful, but it's too stiff. The mattes are too stiff. The shimmers don't spread and blend the way that I want them to. It just hurts my heart.
Muerte is dead to you.
Muerte is dead to me. Alright, so now we're at the two palettes that are kind of middle of the road for me. I definitely saw an improvement in the performance, and the color stories, they're not perfectly suited to me, but they're beautiful. And so let's start with number 5. So let's start with number 6, the Blueprint palette. I love this. Now, I think, I said this in the review, I'll try to link the review down below. I think what they should have done for this one, because this was a stack that had split pans. So it was 4 split pans with 8 colors, and they just put the 8 colors in the palette. So when they've been converting the stacks, they've been adding new shades. I wish they would have made this into one of their 10 pans and added 2 more shades. Because when we see the color story, you're gonna see that we're missing a little something. And what we're missing is variety in matte shades. So there's 1 matte shade for each of the sections. So there's the kind of bronzy browns, and then there's the blues. And there's this deep, deep blue matte, and this deep brown matte. If there was like a light blue matte, and a light brown, light gold, light bronze kind of matte, then I think this palette would be much higher, because the performance on this is fantastic. This has really good performance. I was really surprised. I did a whole Face Friday with this, and I loved it. I thought it was great. So the reason why this is as low as it is, it's in that middle section because the color story is just not perfectly suited to me, you know? I'm trying to balance those 2 lists that I did in the previous video. These blues are gorgeous, but these browns just don't really do it for me. So I love it. I am super excited about this palette. I thought that this was going to be signaling what was to come from Melt. Unfortunately, we saw with the Mary Jane that they didn't really keep up with it, but I hope there's more like this, because this was really good. And it made it to the number 6 spot. That's respectable, but still not as good as the next palette. Speaking of that next palette, in the number 5 spot, we have the Millennial Pinks palette. I love this. I almost didn't buy it because of the Muerte and the Vida palettes. They just weren't great. And Melt, again, I feel like I harp on this every time I mention Melt Cosmetics, but they're just a hair too expensive. I mean, obviously, I'm a whole ass clown up here because I have 10 of them. I complain about the price every time, but I own 10 of them, so I don't know what's wrong with me. But this is just too expensive. All of these 10-pan palettes that are $58, it's just too expensive. But this one is beautiful. And what I like about this color story is you get this really nice array of roses and pinks, these really beautiful kind of more bubblegummy baby pinks up into this more rosy, a little bit more kind of, I don't know, mauve-y kind of influenced colors. And then they pair that with these dark, almost bluish grays, which I think is interesting. Rather than just taking like a black, we've got this like charcoal gray and then a lighter gray. Now I do have to say, these 2 grays, they look kind of different in the pan. When they're on the eye, you can't really tell a difference. So these are a little bit too repetitive, and that's something that I see from time to time with Melt. There are shades that, yeah, they're maybe a little bit different, but they're just not different enough to justify it. But these pinks together and then adding this, I think is beautiful. And this silver, genius. So good, so good. And they needed a strong silver for more of their like cool tone shades. And to pair that with a pink and a gray, I am here for it. So this is my number 5 pick. I would say that this performance, it's good, but it's not as good as the Blueprint. But the color story definitely pushed it above. So now we're into the top 4, and these are kind of the best of the best. So these are my top palettes. I think any of these are phenomenal. Any of these would be great. So now it's where we're getting into preferences, a little bit with performance, but more just about the color story, because all of them perform beautifully. And in the number 4 spot, we have the She's in Parties palette. This is beautiful. When this came out, I wasn't sure that I was going to buy this. Because number 1, when we open it up, you'll see that it looks kind of like similar idea. Not really a dupe. I almost said a dupe, but it looks kind of like a similar color story to the KVD Lolita palette. And I have that one as well, but this one is a mix of matte and shimmers, and so I was like, well, I'll give it a try. And some of my melt experiences before that had been touch and go, like the Muerte and the Vida, which were beautiful but didn't perform as well as I liked. And then I bought this, and it was beautiful, and the performance was magical. It was so good. And this is a beautiful, like, deep wine sort of color story. There's this kind of mauve-y purple, and then these kind of champagne taupe notes at the bottom. These are so pretty. And this packaging with this sort of, like, damask print, so beautiful. The only reason why this is in number 4 and not higher up is just because the colors are not colors that I use all the time. If it was based only on performance, if you saw my previous video where I ranked them, this went really high because the performance is really great for this. But it just, because of the color story, ended up a little bit further down. But this is phenomenal. If you like these colors, and if you've ever thought about getting the KVD Lolita palette and you weren't sure about it or you're sad that you missed it, this is a great option for you.
You know what's a great option for you?
This is Brady.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
You need him.
Roll him in mud and put him by my trash can.
This is what he needs. Brady. Cute. He looks like he has little white lips. Little kisses. You give him kisses.
Little kisses.
Okay, that's your cat.
Okay.
Roll him in mud and put it by your trash can.
In the number 3 spot, Beetlejuice. 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 This is the Waiting Room palette. I love these Beetlejuice palettes. These were a lot of fun. I took a chance on ordering that PR box with a friend, and I'll go ahead and link a video up in the cards. We did a Get Ready With Me where she used this palette and I used the other one because we kind of split up the PR box, and I had to go back and order this one for myself because this is so good. These Beetlejuice palettes, I also included them in my top 20 of 2020 video. I know it's getting kind of late for like year-end countdowns, but if you want to review that, I'll include that up in the cards as well. I know I'm giving you all the video recommendations. Let me go ahead and just show you the inside of this because so good. This is a beautiful collection of reds, and then we've got these kind of gray, this like taupey shimmer, this matte white, and this matte black. This is a great drag palette. If you like working with like a matte black and a matte white and then adding a shimmer like a red or like some little pop of color with it for very like pageanty, traditional kind of drag makeup, this would be a great option. If you don't want to shop from Jalopity Staircase, this, if you can get a hold of it, is... it's not obviously the same as the Blood Sugar palette because that one is 18 shades, this one is 10, and that one has a lot more variety of different things. But if you want that vibe, if you want like a red monochromatic palette, if you can get your hands on this, this is a wonderful option. This is beautiful, and this plastic packaging is really beautiful and really well done. And it's just fun. Now for the number 1 and the number 2 spots, if you've been paying attention and you know my collection, we've got 2 green palettes.
What a surprise. So predictable.
But I think you might be surprised about which one I put in number 2. In the number 2 spot, I have the Smoke Sessions palette. Now, let me just say that I love this packaging, and in my Reefer Madness video that I already linked, if you haven't checked that out, make sure you check it out. I did use this Smoke Sessions palette for that look, and I love the, like, cool blue-toned greens in this palette. This half of the palette is my dream. These 2 shades, these top 2, the lighter 2 shimmers, like my dream greens. These are my favorite greens in the world. I love these. And I didn't have any problems. I know some people had problems with theirs, like, cracking and, like, bubbling out of the pan. I didn't have anything like that. These are stunning. This has aged so well. This deeper green, beautiful. And then this deep green matte. Now, I know I should probably have the same criticism of this that I had of the Blueprint because there's only one dark matte for each. But somehow I don't mind it with these. I love it. Now, the reason why it's in number 2 is this, like, golden, kind of green infused, but we definitely go much more gold. I am a cool tone fan all day long. If we had gone into like some silvers and grays to go with these cool tone greens, this would be my number one palette, 100%. But I love these. These are just not my favorites. I like them and I'll play with them sometimes. And I want to get into doing more warm tone looks just to kind of challenge myself, because I feel like I do a lot of the same kind of looks, but I need to play with these more, and I just don't love pairing these together. I feel like this is two palettes. So that's why it ended up in the number 2 spot. And in the number 1 spot, that means the other green palette. Oh, I love it. The recently deceased palette from the Beetlejuice collection. This is so pretty. Now with this one, this is fewer shades than the Waiting Room. The Waiting Room had 10. This is only 8. I do feel like there's a little bit of repetition in here, but these swampy greens are so good. I love them. And then to put this like weird evergreen, very blue-toned green, along with these lighter, more chartreusey, limey kind of greens, I think is phenomenal. Now what pushed this above the Smoke Sessions palette isn't the greens at all. Because like I said, I loved those cool tone greens in Smoke Session. I love the greens in this palette. What made the decision for me were the other shades. I didn't really like those swampy browns, but these purples, so good. These are really beautiful purple shades. They're really well done. I know that sometimes purple shades are struggle bus. So these, the quality on these is so phenomenal. I am here for it. These are so beautiful. Ah, so good. That Get Ready With Me, I could not believe these purples. Like, they just went on and were pigmented, and they moved around, they were blendable. It was phenomenal. So, I am so excited. I'm glad I redid the Thunderdome, because this needed to be shouted out as my number 1 Melt palette, the recently deceased from the Beetlejuice collection. All right, that is it for this trip back to the Makeup Thunderdome. What did you think? Were you surprised by how my rankings changed once I had to squish the 2 lists together and have packaging and performance together? Were you surprised? Were you shocked? Were you in awe? Are there any of these that you think should have been higher, lower? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think about my ranking, and thanks for coming on another trip to the Thunderdome. As you're leaving me that comment, don't forget that you can give me a thumbs up, or if you really feel the need to, give me a thumbs down. The YouTube algorithm isn't a picky bitch, and neither am I. It's all engagement, girl. And of course, right next to those thumbs up and thumbs down buttons, why aren't you subscribed yet? Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I upload at least 1 video a week, and sometimes I even have a bonus video for you. Ooh, scandalous. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box, including a link to my website, The World of Champagne at JanessaJ.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. I'm so glad that you came along for this ride. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a good time filming it. And until I see you again, bye. It's all engagement, bish. Bish. That's weird. It's fine.